Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to Young Wild Dreams. I'm very excited to be making this video. I wanted to do it sooner. I just wanted to make sure that we had enough playing time with the Sony FX3 before we did a review, and I wouldn't call it too much of a review. This is more of our experience with this camera, with the clients that we have, and the working environments that we're usually in. So without further ado, here's our experience with the Sony FX3. All right, so let's start with some of the pros. Let's start with the body. So the size for me is perfect. It has this cage-free design with mounting points. So, you can, easily hook up arms for your monitors and different things like that. Or if you want to cage it up, there's different mounting points on the body itself. So that for me was a big plus. It's like a production-ready A7S Mark III. The cameras are pretty much the same except the body. It's a 4K full frame sensor, 35mm sensor. It's 10-bit recording, which if you're a Sony guy like me and you come from the previous DSLRs, we were on 8-bit. We all wanted 10-bit. Sony finally gave us 10-bit, which is awesome. 422 10-bit, which is a lot of good information. There's 15 stops of dynamic range. An HDR recording, so that's perfect for if you're going to grade. There's a lot of information on there for you to play with your footage, and that for us was perfect. I didn't have the budget to go get an FX6 or an FX9 or a Komodo, which is what we wanted to do. So still having 4K and a good amount of dynamic range was very important for us. Especially with the projects that we're doing. We do a lot of documentaries, a lot of sports, so I wanted to have a good resolution. So it has 4K and it's a full frame sensor, so that's a plus. The S-Cinetone, which was adopted from the Venice. A lot of people wanted to see that. They finally gave it to us. If you're shooting on the S-Cinetone, it gives you rich colors, natural skin tones. If you're shooting with some of the bigger Sony cameras, like the FX6 or the FX9, and you're shooting across all cameras on S-Cinetone, you don't even have to grade. They'll match up perfectly. So that's a plus. If you're doing podcasts or interviews or any type of shows, that's a plus. The next thing is uninterrupted 4K 60. So 4K up to 60 frames, uninterrupted. That for me was a big. I do a lot of podcasts, a lot of interviews, and they can go on for 30 minutes plus. So, that's a good thing. I learned that some of the other previous DSLRs didn't have that, and I learned that the hard way, and it costed me a project. So I wasn't happy about that, but we learned. So when I was researching this camera and I saw it was uninterrupted, that was another thing that was on the plus side for me when it came to the FX3. So another thing is this camera can do up to 4K 120 frames. I'm not sure if it could record it at 10-bit, so I'm not sure on that. Correct me if I'm wrong in the description. But you can do 4K 120 frames. The next thing is, I already covered this, the 10-bit S-Log 3 and HDR recording. It's amazing. If you're like me and you like to grade and it's something that you've always wanted to do, or you wanted more information for, the Sony FX3 gives it to you. Another great thing about this camera, I wasn't able to get some of the higher end cameras, but I own an Adamus Ninja 5, so I can externally record RAW up to 16-bit, which is pretty gnarly. It's pretty amazing. Like I said, I'm a big junkie for color grading and that post-production, so that's another thing that I had on the plus side for this camera. A second thing is, I sometimes put this camera in a Ronin, and sometimes the autofocus, it's when you're running on a gimbal, is really important. I've heard, oh, Canon has better autofocus than Sony, and I've heard all the arguments. I'm speaking out of my experience with this camera, so don't kill me here. I'm not saying that it's better than the Canon. That's not what I'm saying at all, but it is pretty good. Their eye autofocus tracking, which is awesome, because when I have this thing on a gimbal and I'm running around, it comes in handy, it locks in, it doesn't shift, it doesn't go off, it's it's solid, it sticks. So that was a big plus for me. Another thing is the tallies. There's a tally on the front, there's a tally on the record button, and on the back end on the LCD. The LCD also kind of has a border that comes up when you're recording. For me, that's important because sometimes we're in the moment, and if you're doing run and gun and you're doing things on your own, it's really hard to maybe think you press record and you did it. So, you know, if you don't see the camera glowing red, at least you can tell yourself, oh crap, I'm not recording. You can stop it quickly. Or if you are recording and you're kind of far away and you're keeping an eye on several cameras, at least you can tell from every angle of the camera that it's recording. So the tallies are awesome. I'm glad that they incorporated that into these cameras. That's pretty much all I wrote down here based off of my experiences with this camera. So now off to some of the cons. One of the things is that there's a vent on the bottom and then there's a vent on the right side, I believe. So the cool air comes up and then it comes out the side. Sometimes when I have to put this camera on the tripod or on a Ronin or a gimbal, the plate covers it. So when I'm out in the sun and it's like 12 and the sun is out there blasting at its hottest, these cameras overheat really quick, and I feel like that doesn't help because it doesn't allow the camera to cool off the right way or as efficient. So that's probably one of the things that I would write as a cons that I didn't like. So if you do have this camera and you're out, I'm from Florida, Miami. If you happen to be in an environment as hot as Florida and you're out at the peak of the sun and the camera throws you a warning it's overheating, stop recording, turn it off. It's not worth risking the project for that. So you can work around it. Like I said, stop recording, turn it off, and you're good to go. Give it 5 minutes and you'll be okay. That's usually what I do. That's pretty much it. I know, oh, you know, Anthony, that's just one, you know, cons versus all the pros that you've mentioned. But again, this is from my experience alone and my brothers, you know, putting this camera through our workload, through our productions with our clients. So that's pretty much it. I hope this was of help for you guys. If you have any more questions and you know you have questions about some of the projects that we shot with it, or you want to see some of the work, you know, we post a lot of the stills and a lot of, you know, the behind the scenes on Young Wild Dreams. If you have any questions, DM us or, you know, comment below on this video. We also have a Discord, so I'll put that in the description as well. So if you guys, you know, want to connect at a more personal level and, you know, want to ask very specific questions and need some information, Discord would be the way to go. So I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope this was of help, and I'll see you in the next one.